Something I think we can all agree on regarding Smash is that it's the crossover hub of characters from all over the Nintendo franchise. From household names like Mario, Pokemon, Donkey Kong, Zelda, Fire Emblem, to lesser known yet equally respectable titles such as Kirby, Kid Icarus, Earthbound, and Star Fox to name a few. The magic of this game was that you could see all of your beloved characters in a common setting to beat the crap out of each other. Though one thing most of them shared regardless of their original game genres is an element of conflict. If you close your eyes, pick any member of the cast, and search up their home franchise, there's some semblance of you versus an antagonist. Smash is a fighting game after all. The developers would need a point of reference to design their movesets, making it all the more surprising when Wii Fit Trainer was introduced as a newcomer for Smash 4. While the game Wii Fit was the commercial hit during the days of Wii and Wii U, its gameplay vastly contrasted from that of existing characters up until this point. No one even remotely expected this of all games to be in the pool of available choices for Smash, not even by a long shot. As mentioned in previous episodes, a huge contributor to a character's popularity or lack thereof stems from personal attachment. One of the reasons Mario is widely used is because of the omnipresent Mario franchise. One of the reasons why everyone plays Cloud is because Final Fantasy VII was a classic for the PS1. And while Wii Fit is the title everyone is more or less aware of, the Wii Fit Trainer is only meant to serve as a fictitious companion to attach instructional voice lines to as a means of guiding the player. One could argue they weren't even a tangible character to begin with. Needless to say, in a lot of weird ways, usage for them has been rather low ever since their addition to the game in 2014, so let's work out why no one plays Wii Fit Trainer. Just a disclaimer, if this is your first time on my channel, this video is not meant to be a personal attack against any Wii Fit mains. The goal of this series is to go over characters in video games that are unpopular to use by the general player base, analyzing what makes them unpopular, and to see if we can find instances where they would be appealing to pick up for some of you watching. I repeat, this is purely for discussion and not to trash on your main. Considering their game of origin has nothing to do with combat or any form of confrontation against an opposing entity, Wii Fit's moveset was hilariously yet brilliantly structured around, as you can guess, actual fitness exercises. While other fighters, especially the more animated ones, have very cartoonish, Looney Tunes-like attacks like Sonic's Forward Smash, which is the biggest war crime this game has ever seen, true to their home game, both Wii Fit trainers have a tall, well-balanced, and athletic physique, with most if not all of their attacks having very realistic hitboxes. Early on though, it was made clear that realism wasn't really gonna cut it in a game where a pink marshmallow is duking it out with an all-powerful god-smiting angel killer. Granted, they did have potential, however, much of that potential was gated behind how notoriously inconsistent and underwhelming their normal attacks were. As a result, everything from their tilts to aerials to specials were vastly improved in some way coming into Ultimate, becoming faster, lasting longer, less end lag, more range, increased damage, kill power, what have you. Speaking of moveset, I want to spend more time going through each one since they illustrate the prevailing issues surrounding their low popularity. First, let's take a look at their jab. A side leg lift followed by leg twist and then a forward lunge. Where most other characters' jabs consist of a flurry of punches, kicks, or rapid swings of their sword, Wii Fit's moves are different workout poses. They may look uncanny, but as someone who's physically active myself, gotta appreciate the form and posture. I digress though. Forward tilt is a dancer's pose, extending their arm out while holding one leg behind. Up tilt is a triangle with one arm outstretched upwards. Down tilt is a classic bridge that attacks with their knees. Dash attack is a sliding gate pose that strikes with an arcing arm. Forward smash is a warrior pose, attacking in front and behind using their arms. Up smash is a standing tree pose, which as you can guess from the animation, a vertical strike upwards. Down smash is a bird dog, extending one arm forward and the opposite leg back. Just on the grounded attacks, you may have noticed a recurring theme. Their hitboxes follow the animation very loyally and specifically. For example, forward tilt hits both sides, with the front part following the forward arm thrust, and an up tilt like hitbox behind as they race to grab their leg. Up tilt has an outstretched arm hitbox attacking directly upwards, as well as a hitbox on their glutes as they're raised. Suffice to say, each of their attacks inflicts damage using parts of their body that you would expect to cause damage if you were struck by it in real life. And with it, the startup and end lag of most of their attacks follow the amount of time it would take a regular person to perform the action. The literality of their hitboxes and animations echo throughout the rest of their moveset, especially in the aerial department. Wii Fit's neutral air is an aerial jackknife, one of the most painful core exercises to do properly. Anyways, once again, the parts where you expect to take damage are the arms and legs. Forward air is the leg extension with an outstretched arm and leg. Back air is a cobra pose, striking with the legs. Up air is a half moon pose that attacks directly above with the arms, and down tilt is a chair pose into leg press that hits right below. So, after witnessing all of their ground and aerial moves, you might have noticed that they have an extremely unorthodox moveset with very specific hitboxes. While the buffs given to them in Ultimate increased the effectiveness of every attack, it failed to address the root problem of Wii Fit's design. Since the hitboxes don't extend very far from their actual character model, Wii Fit struggles to land most of them against opponents in light of how small and precise they are, even for a close quarters combatant. In exchange for having low effective range past their initial attacks, brawler-type characters make up for that by having what is known as a body hitbox, essentially meaning if they throw out a move and you're touching their player model, you're gonna get hit by it. This is a luxury not found in sword characters to offset their disjointed range. For comparison, let's look at a fellow tall boxer like Captain Falcon. Look at the active hitboxes of his forward tilt, you'll notice they're roughly the same size as Wii Fit's. But Falcon also has a hitbox on his pelvis, whereas Wii Fit does not, it's only on their arm and leg. Another example is their down air. Notice how the hitboxes once again cover Falcon's torso, while for Wii Fit, they don't. One last comparison, take a look at their back air and line it up against someone like Wolf's back air. You starting to see it? I'm making such a big deal out of this because, in practice, there are a lot of moments where Wii Fit's attacks outright miss due to their massive blind spots, an issue only they suffer for the most part. More often than not, they'll find themselves getting outboxed by conventional comboing to scrappers like Fox, Falco, Mario, Wario, and Wolf to name a few. In their defense, ironically, contrary to other brawlers, Wii Fit's damage output is ridiculous, with all of their attacks except for Jab having base damage numbers in the double digits. As a reminder, the 25% increased damage is a result of move scaling and the increased damage when fighting 1v1. If the numbers on screen don't match what I'm saying, that's why. So while they have unreasonably precise hitboxes, Wii Fit can dish out mad percent, and this is amplified even further with deep breathing. On that note, their specials are all fantastic in their own ways, which we'll get into later. It's hard to get that damage reliably though, unless their opponent is someone with a massive hurtbox or slow mobility. Melee fighters are already very precise when it comes to landing their attacks, but it's somewhat remedied by the implication that if your character model is touching your opponent, then whatever move you are thinking about using will hit them more likely than not. The unfortunate part is that Wii Fit has phenomenal frame data, especially for how strong their individual attacks are. It's that landing those attacks can feel as onerous as trying to catch a fly with their pair of chopsticks. Moreover, lack of hurtbox coverage means they're one of the characters most vulnerable to trades even if they do land their attacks, requiring immense patience and understanding of when their opponent will be wide open to avoid taking unnecessary damage. With that in mind, they're not without means to exert pressure from a distance. Their neutral B stun salutation behaves almost identically to Samus's charge shot, except a fully charged one heals them for 2%. It's not much, but technically it means they're the only fighter in the game who can heal all the way back to 0% on paper. Before you say hero can with menu, no they cannot, they can only use heal I believe 4 times per stock. Charge shot projectiles rank among the best for their ability to outright kill you, so if close quarters combat has more risk than reward, they can default to range pressure if need be. Secondly, there's header, there's side B. As the name implies, they had a soccer ball which does a huge amount of damage and kills at high percents, especially when edge guarding. It also allows them to stall their aerial momentum, opening up recovery mix-ups among many other use cases. Sun Salutation and Header share Wii Fit's overall high damage output. In combination with how unsafe their normal moveset is, it often leads to Wii Fit players defaulting on use of their specials from afar and camp near the ledge as a surefire way to rack up damage without risking their own life. This is further exacerbated by their inability to approach, as they're rather floaty in the air and their ground speed without deep breathing is too slow to be a threat. Against anyone who can punt the soccer ball away, a lot of pressure is put on Wii Fit to force reckless approaches from their opponent and punish that. Not a very exciting neutral game for players and spectators alike. But what about deep breathing? This has to be one of the most divisive specials in the game. You have one group of people saying Wii Fit with deep breathing active is top tier and another group dismissing it as overrated. For the uninitiated, when successfully timing this move, Wii Fit heals to 2% and gains increased walking, running, dash, fall, and airspeed similar to the speed boost Cloud gets from Limit, as well as higher gravity and less damage taken, enough to increase their overall survivability by about 15% from what I remember, and to top it off, a 25% damage bonus when fresh and a minimum of 20% when stale, further juicing up their already insane damage output. Deep breathing was likened to Limit and Arsene put together, especially after a massive buff from Smash 4. In some cases, yeah, it's not an incorrect statement, but the onus still falls on the player to get hits in, and though the extra mobility and damage output help, they fail to alleviate the issue of them getting clean hits in safely, bringing us to the next problem. The one benefit that comes from the moves having strong individual damage output is that in last stock last hit situations, many of their attacks are usable as stray hits to close out stocks. Forward tilt, down tilt, dash attack, forward air, back air, especially back air, holy that kills you at 80% if you land the sweet spot. Basically, if both Wii Fit and someone like Mario are at kill percent, the former has way more attacks that will finish off the latter, and with deep breathing, basically everything kills from ground moves to aerials to even throws. Why is this a problem? Wii Fit is exclusively a close range or long range fighter, not mid range. And what range do you need to have in order to excel at stray hits? Mid range. Close range stray hits are not effective for 2 reasons. First, the point of using stray hits is to pose as low of a risk to you when throwing them out. Second, close range moves are in nature short range. True, they're usually very fast, but their speed is cancelled out by the fact that they have to once again be right next to you, thus making them ineffective in the neutral. And no, I don't care how many Marios you run into in Elite Smash spamming back airs for days, that's never gonna fly in competitive. As for long range attacks, they're also not really all that efficient as stray hits. In theory, having a very strong projectile like Charge Shot is a valuable asset in that you can stay far away from your opponent and throw them out endlessly with no commitment. But of course, if you're shooting stuff from across the stage, that gives your opponent ample time to see them coming and therefore dodge or shield against them. Mid-range varies by definition, but typically it would consist of any non-projectile disjointed attack. Sword fighters are the best way to showcase mid-range. They each have a few or several moves far-reaching and safe enough to where even if they miss or hit your shield, there's plenty of distance between them and you to where the only way you can punish them is if you go for a hard committal option or were specifically waiting for them to use that attack. An example of one of the best mid-range attacks in the game would be Cloud's back air. At a frame 11 startup and 2 massive hitboxes covering an entire area behind him, it has the perfect balance of speed, power, landing lag, and safety on shield that you can virtually spam it in neutral at minimum consequence. Despite having staggering damage output and equally enormous kill pressure on many of their attacks, they lack the means to approach and pressure their opponents with those attacks in light of their uncomfortably thin hitboxes. And despite having very dangerous long-range projectiles in the form of header and sun salutation, neither option is safe to use up close, and they don't have an easy way to force their opponent into disadvantage to minimize their options so as to allow them to score a kill the way other zoners like Samus and Min Min do. Mind you, their edge guarding and ledge trapping is some of the best in the game, but they don't have the on-stage pressure to throw their opponents off stage to begin with. In essence, Wii Fit has to do everything in a much less straightforward way. That's not to say they don't possess the faculty to be viable, quite the opposite. They have everything they need to be successful in competitive, it's just not in the same format as one would expect from your standard good characters. Therefore, it's not as applicable in the same context as other characters, and so when players try to approach a matchup in a standard way, they find that a lot of Wii Fit's pieces don't fit into the jigsaw puzzle, so to speak, leading to an outcome that consists of primarily defensive low-risk play, and no matter how hard someone tries to push the narrative of an aggressive, in-your-face, non-campy playstyle with Wii Fit, that's not what they're inherently capable of achieving in a high-stakes environment like Bracket. Elite Smash? Maybe. Friendlies? Sure. But when there's money on the line or you're playing for actual results, practicality takes precedence. Finally, part of why Wii Fit Trainer has such a small player base is that they're entirely unrecognizable. It may sound out of place given that why no one plays focuses on a character's presence in competitive, but mass appeal has just as much influence on popularity as practical gameplay elements. If a character lacks brand recognition, they have to make up for it with very strong practical gameplay, such as the case for Game & Watch and Rob. No one knows about their origins, but they don't care because they're two of the best fighters in Ultimate. If the character lacks practical gameplay, they need robust brand recognition. Donkey Kong sucks, but so many people use him because he's freaking Donkey Kong. In terms of brand recognition, everyone knows Wii Fit, but no one actually cares about Wii Fit, as in the trainers themselves. They only exist as a model to show yoga poses and proper exercise form, not a character with a personality, backstory, or narrative. Granted, I'm aware there's a higher chance of Fighters' player base as more people who don't know anything about their game of origin than those that do, but it's an influential factor all the same. Public opinion of Wii Fit's viability is steadily, albeit very slowly, rising thanks to the myriad of buffs they received during launch and patch updates to the point where many people would consider them a mid-high tier or perhaps even high tier, and I agree with that, even if they have more glaring problems than many would be comfortable with. But what prevents them from being a popular pick above all else is that there's no sense of personal attachment to them. People would be able to look past their unorthodox repertoire, especially if it pays homage to their moveset or playstyle back home, but there isn't one back home, so the only avenue Wii Fit has in becoming mainstream is if their moveset in Smash is filled with strong practical tools like once again Game & Watch, Rob, etc. Credit where credit is due though, out of all the why no one plays characters I've done so far, Wii Fit is the one with the most potential for viewers to try out. Mechanically and tactically, they're nowhere near as demanding as the likes of Sheik, Joker, Shulk, and Rosalina, and they have enough of every base covered to net results, just as long as you're able to adapt to how unusual they are. That being said, it would have been nice if they got buffed just a little bit more. Anyways, that's gonna be it for today. Let me know if you have any thoughts on Wii Fit Trainer in the comments down below if you agree or disagree with my points. Aside from that, if you enjoyed the video, I'd appreciate it if you left a like and subscribed. Don't forget to follow me on Twitter, join my Discord server, and check out my previous episodes if you haven't yet. Till next time, thanks so much for watching, and I look forward to seeing you again soon. Take care.